how has that process gone, and I guess where do you think you are in figuring that out?
Yeah, no, I think we're getting there. I still think that it's early in the process, but I think you saw a little bit of that last Saturday, just in terms of the mix that we have, and some of the schemes that we're running. Running inside zone, running stretch. Getting the ball in the perimeter, mixing in play action passes. Trying to get the ball into our guys' hands. The mixture of all those things, along with the quarterback run, mixing up tempos. Those type of things. Put stress on the defense, and I think our guys are getting more and more comfortable. We always want to have a combination of zone schemes and gap schemes up front, and we're starting to get there. We're still not where we need to be. We still don't, have a full complement of stuff out there just yet, but we're building towards that right now. But I think at least the balance that we had and the energy we played with a couple weeks ago is what we're looking for. But it's just a starting point.
I don't know if frustration is the right word to use in terms of not playing last week, but when you think about that process, is not having a game in the third week of the season any kind of impediment as you try to develop that?
I mean, I think it could be, but it's just based on how you approach it. And, our approach was that this, it is what it is, and we're going to have to handle it. And so we went out there and we had an improvement week, and I felt like we had, 3 hard physical days out there, and got a chance to step away for a couple days and watch some games on Saturday, and kind of asked everybody to do that, get some rest. It gives you good perspective. You get the chance to see some games, see some situational things to learn from, get to see some other teams out there. You're just watching the game, in your living room is a different experience. So I think, our guys got a chance to get some of that. We visited on Sunday, had a team meeting, went out there, had our typical Sunday routine. That was good, and now we'll get back here on Tuesday. But, the idea was to get better. I think we did do that last week, and so now we'll get back into game week here. But we tried to keep the same rhythm last week as we rolled through it.
Third row right, Stefan Kreisny, Cleveland.com.
You talk about Will Howard, kind of how he's gotten more comfortable day by day. Have you kind of seen the same from DeShaun from when he came in and kind of learned this offense? And what has he kind of added with his experience in the locker room?
Yeah, same. He's learned the offense. I think that there's certain things that we do that's different than where he came from. So learning that was something he jumped into early on. He and Travion have a great relationship. They work hard in that room. I think Carlos has done a good job of building a rapport in that room, and a physicality and a toughness and a mindset. So again, just getting started, but you can see what he can do with the ball in his hands and the explosiveness and the power he has when he runs, and in protection, I thought he did a good job, picking up a couple things too. So he's growing, he's building, but you can see, what a weapon he is for us when he's out there.
Far right, Dave Holmes, WSYX.
Right, you said talking about watching the games Saturday. When you're a college football fan, what's that day look like? I mean, what are we eating? What are we drinking? What are we watching in the games? I mean, is there stuff you're looking for that maybe a regular fan's not? What's your bye-week fan experience?
Yeah, you get up in the morning, have breakfast with the family and try to spend some time with the family the best you can. I talk to our guys about, balance is not an equal distribution of time and energy. It's a building high ground for hard times, and you do that through faith, family, and friends. And so you got to get around your family and get around your faith and get around your friends a little bit, but we don't have a whole bunch of time for that. So you get that done in the morning, and then the game started at noon, and we all just needed to get off our feet and rest a little bit and kick our feet up. But you watch the games, and now you get a chance to watch multiple games at once. I'm sure a lot of people do that now, and so you bounce from game to game, and you just watch. You watch the coaches, you watch the players, you watch the demeanor, you watch the body types, you watch the situations, you learn from it. It just gives you a great perspective as you don't find yourself in those situations very often, especially early in the season. So, it's something that I think our guys, had an opportunity to do, and we brought up some of those situations on Sunday. Learned from a few of the game situations, in game, end of game. And, I think it's just healthy to do that when you have that opportunity.
Tony Gertman, Buckeye Huddle.
Talking about Will Howard getting more comfortable, how much credit do the receivers in this building get for making him more comfortable?
Yeah, it's everybody involved. It's the protection. And that involves the tight ends, the running backs, but obviously the offensive line. That's a big part of it. But the receivers, have a strong hand in creating a comfort level of, if you are man-to-man and you throw it anywhere, kind of this area, I'm going to go make a play. So let me go do that. And then that's really their job is in man-to-man is to get open and catch the ball. And it's Will's job to give him a chance to catch it. And then when you get zone, you have to space out the routes. And then now it's the quarterback's job to work the underneath defenders. So, again, the protection's a big part of it, but for a wide out to win versus man-to-man and space it out versus zone, I mean, that's their job, and being strong with the ball in their hands and then also ball security. So all those things play into it. And, these guys have worked hard in the offseason. They worked hard during the preseason, and they continue to work hard to build that chemistry and rapport and timing, and all those things are important. So, it all goes hand in hand.
He said that you guys told him if they're pressed one-on-one, they're open, throw it, that sort of thing. Did you have to repeat those things, or were these just one time you tell him and he's good to go?
I mean, there's a lot of things that are said multiple times over and over again, and that's what you do as a coach. But all of our quarterbacks, pick things up quickly, and that's important. But those are things you're continually talking about. And the good thing is when you're about to say it, when it happens on a play, and you're about to say it, and they finish the sentence for you, that's when you know you're on the same page. And we're starting to see some of that.
Talked in the preseason about the idea of Caleb Downs potentially playing some offense. Is that still something you're interested in or pursuing, or is that just kind of a break glass in case of emergency kind of thing? And I guess how much did James Peoples' emergence and feeling confident in him change maybe your perspective on that?
Both. I think right now, we're focused on Caleb being the best safety in America and, doing his job there. He's still working as a punt returner. I don't think we're quite there where we need to, get involved with him in the run game just yet. Not that we won't as the season goes on. But no, and I think it's been great to see James, and good to see Sam get some carries in the game. So, our depth at all positions is going to be, tried this year. So, he'll be an option if need be. But right now we're going to just focus on safety.
Jeff Gilbert, press pros, third row left.
Coach, in terms of special teams, you're more involvement this year with it. You haven't had a close game yet where a special teams play could have hurt you. That's coming. Those games are coming. How much more confident are you in that? Thinking most specifically about punt either way.
Yeah, I think every day, meeting on it, talking through it, I feel much more involved with it. I feel like I'm much more in control of it than I was probably in the past, and making sure you have the right guys in the right spots. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to keep grinding on it every day. We want to get better in every way. We want to grab every inch we can possibly grab. And those, that's a phase that can be critical, as in some of those, situations. So we'll keep grinding on it. I do feel like, our staff is fully engaged in it. I feel like our team is. I think they see it. They feel it. All coaches are involved, including myself. So, we're not where we need to be. But, we are seeing good effort there, and that's a great starting point.
With Donovan Jackson moving in a good direction the last few weeks, do you know if he'll play Saturday?
Yeah, he's ready to roll. As long as we have a good week of practice, he'll be ready to go for Saturday.
And Austin Cerebell, what type of value did those last two games provide for him going forward?
Yeah, he's going to still play, and we'll figure out how that looks. But he's done a nice job in the first couple games, and for stepping in that spot, I think that's provided us some depth that we didn't know we had going into the preseason.
Fifth row right, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Brian, I think maybe from the outside in the offseason, you lose guys like Tommy and Steele to make it the depth of linebacker or the uncertainty of just kind of experience with the question. Through 2 games, you've seen that depth grow, that rotation grow. What have you liked about really all 4 of those guys that have really kind of fit, or that whole room that's really fit well together?
Again, it's just a start, so I don't really like to summarize where guys are at right now. We got a lot of football to go, but you see what you see in the first couple games. You see a lot of great effort. You see guys running to the ball. You see guys making plays, and that's exciting. And the challenges are going to keep getting more and more difficult as time goes on. So we're gonna have to play with three linebackers in the game if they're in bigger personnel groupings. So that's at the very least you got to play with 3. But you lose a couple guys, you're playing with 4 and 5. So just like every position, we got to do that. But good to see even in the first game not having Cody, seeing guys step up, and it's important. I mean, that's a position where you got to do a lot of prep work. You got to know how to fit the runs, and you got to be involved with the coverages. You got to make the checks. Cody, and if Cody's not in there, the Mike linebacker's got the green dot, so he's making all the communication from Jim. So it's a lot of work, and but we're seeing some good play there. We're seeing some good effort. So again, good starting point, but a long way to go.
Fifth row left, Noah Weisskopf, the Lantern.
Ryan, what have you seen on Marshall from watching them so far? What do you think? Did they do exceptionally well?
Yeah, they have a very good staff. Coach Huff is very well respected and does a great job in recruiting. Does a good job with his team. Has been a very good coach in college football for a long time, and he's hired a very good staff, a mix of youth and experience, and he gets his guys to play hard. They're athletic. They got a big front, on the defensive side, and they have an identity on offense. They want to spread you out and throw it around a little bit, and mix some runs in. I think he does a very, very good job, and they're going to come in here, and they're going to play open and free, and we'll have a great environment, so they're going to be jacked up for that, but a lot of respect for the program and what he does.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, you were talking earlier about showing guys some clips of things from over the weekend. How often do you guys do that, especially early in the season? Maybe when situations don't arise in your games, but you might see them crop up in other games. How often are you able to use other games?
Periodically, coming off of a weekend where we don't play, it allows us more opportunity, and I can grab a couple of the coaches and say, hey, can we put some of this stuff together? I watched this. Can you put these clips together, and then we can go on it. When you have a little bit more time, that allows you to do that. When that happens, we'll do those things. Usually coming off of a game, there's just so many things that we need to, hit on coming off the game, watching the game film, that typically we're just going to focus on ourselves. But depending on what we have, coming off the game and what we have coming up the next week, we'll just make a determination. Only so many hours in a day. But when we can find these teachable moments, we try to do that just to bring awareness to everybody. And sometimes it's the coaches, sometimes it's the staff, just to make them think, what are we going to do in these types of situations? And then how are we going to respond?
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Right. Statistically this year, Will's been really sort of the upper end of the spectrum in terms of being really efficient out of play action pass. I'm just wondering from your perspective, what's made him really effective in those type of situations?
Well, I think it starts with the runs. When you're running the ball, now you have to be more aggressive. Safety's got to get lower. You got to put an extra guy in the box, which opens up things down the field. But I think the work we put in on the timing of some of those concepts, and the protection's been strong, like I've said, but it's timing those things up and marrying up the run game, with the play action pass as they go hand in hand, and then there's the RPOs, which are similar to that as well. But you're looking to always complement the runs with some sort of play action pass to put people in conflict, and Chip's always done that, and we've always done that here. Is on just about every play, you want to put somebody in conflict, whether you're just turning the ball and handing the ball off. It's a safety or something, or maybe a linebacker with a play action pass, or you're reading somebody in the RPO world. And so putting guys in conflict is what we're looking for. So marrying those things up is important. But I think the timing has been good so far. But again, just a small sample size.
Is it part of Chip's thing because he's done it in the past stop? Does it Will have the skill set for it as well?
Yeah, I think all the above. I think everything is a big part of it. We got a lot of great minds in that room, and I think Will can see it well from his size. He can stand in that pocket and see over the line. I think that does have something to do with it. But it's everybody. It's the design, it's the protection, it's the routes, it's all the above. But ultimately, he has to deliver the ball.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You spent a lot of time in fall camp, just kind of in the nicest way, just calling out Jelani Thurman and needing to see more from him. And it feels like with G, Will, and him, you guys have just kind of rotated those guys, which has probably been a benefit than just playing Kate Stover as much as you did the last couple of years. What have you seen from him specifically over the first two games that let you know that he's headed in the right direction?
I think it's his ability to be coached. We're coaching him really, really hard, and he just keeps playing the next play. He doesn't let the last play affect the next, whether it's a good play or a bad play, and just playing through that. And the more reps he's getting in the stadium, the better it is for him. So we want to continue to play through that. I think his attention to detail has been better. It's improved. I think his focus in meetings has improved. And so every day he puts, stacks these days, the better he's going to be. But just even attention to detail when he's in the special teams meeting, he's focused, he's locked in, he's got questions, he's got answers. I mean, those are all the things you're looking for somebody who's trying to build trust with not only the coaches, but his teammates. And so if he can keep building on that and keep growing, again, I feel like the sky's the limit for him.
Could Austin, if you needed it, play that Bison role that you've used over the last couple of years here? Is that, as a tight end depth, maybe not allowed you not have to use that as much?
Well, we do have more depth at tight end, but now with getting Donnie back, you would have that as an option if need be. So it hasn't really come up a bunch, but if we need that type of situation, now you have somebody that you trust that has earned the trust from guys around him by the way he's played in those first couple games.
Deep left, Tim Hall, 97.1 defender.
Ryan, did you see C.J. Stroud's sideline pass when he was getting ripped down this weekend, and what did you say to yourself when you saw that?
No, I actually didn't see it. I did watch a few of the plays, and somebody had said to me, but he just made a sick throw, but I never caught it with my eyes. But I did text him after the game, and just proud of the way he's handled himself, the way he's endeared himself into that organization, the way he's built hope into that organization, and the way guys are rallying around him, the way he's playing. Just couldn't be prouder of the way he's going about his business on a day-to-day basis, and he's got a lot of people here pulling for him.
Austin Ward, podcast.
Ryan, I don't know if Donovan's situation is comparable at all to what Jackson went through 2 years ago. Maybe it's not, but either way, did that process that JSN went through change anything with the way you want to manage injuries when they're close, like Donovan maybe was a week and a half ago? Length of the season maybe playing into that as well. Like, do you think there's anything that's changed about managing the health of those situations when they're close right now?
I mean, I rely on sports medicine when it comes to making these decisions, but you do use everything that you've learned in your experience to try to, help be a part of the process, and you use all types of information to figure that out. And for Donovan came back for a reason. He wants some hardware, man. He wants to play. He didn't come back to just, watch the game on the sidelines, but, it took everything we had to kind of hold him back from that game. And he was available in an emergency role. I mean, he could have played, but, all the information that we had got from our doctors in sports medicine led us to believe that, unless he was really needed, it didn't make sense to put him on a pitch count, quote unquote, in that game, but to hold him if possible. And so we made that decision, which was not easy for him to hear or do, but we did. And I think we're all glad that we did at this point. So to answer your question, ultimately, like I defer to the doctors on this, but there is constant conversation. I am a part of all those conversations. And you always look back on different situations and try to learn from it so that, you make the best decision for what you have at that moment.
I know it's 5 days away, so certainly the situation could change, but when you're reintegrating Donovan on Saturday, would the preference be to ease it back in because he's missed 2 weeks of game reps, take as many as possible because you're going into a Big Ten game? Like, what's the decision-making process there? Yeah,
we felt like if he had a full week going into or on the improvement week, we had a full Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and have a full week of practice this week, that he's full go and he's ready to go.
Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Ryan, the tight ends talked a lot about in the offseason being the toughest unit on the team. Was any part of that knowing that you guys would want to deploy those 13, 14 personnel looks this season?
I think everybody is competing against each other, but there's also that competition sometimes between personnel groupings. You want to get on the field, and whether it's 10 or 11 or 13 or even 14, I mean, guys are fighting for opportunities to get in the game and play. Whether it's two backs in the game, I mean, there's pride in each unit to be able to do that. So, yeah, I think that, and it's a lot easier to do when you have more guys in a room, so that if you take an injury, you still can be in that grouping, where it's a little bit harder when you put a lot of work in, you invest in a grouping, and then one injury or something can happen, and then you're completely out of that grouping. And now you've spent a lot of time during the week on that, and that's a bad investment. So I think the depth of that room has allowed us to put a little more effort and emphasis in that group.
Andy Anders, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted, on the defensive tackle rotation, it seems pretty clear that Caden McDonald has emerged as that next nose guard. Who's kind of in the mix there at 3 tech? And some guys have kind of split some snaps there. It just hasn't been a clear number 2 that's equal.
Yeah, I would say, like you said, inside, Hero's right there. K-Mac is right there as well. And then, we're really looking for the next couple guys to step up into that role. And I think Larry would tell you the same thing. There's a bunch of, candidates, but, that's something that I think that whole room is really pushing towards, and getting those guys to step up. You got Will, you got Taiwan, you got Jason Moore. I mean, there's some names in there of guys that we believe can do it, and so that's a challenge. We got to continue. This is all positions, but we're looking for guys to step up in that room.
Spencer Holbrook, let him enroll.
It's probably a good thing that you haven't had to deal with a lot of different defensive situations yet, because you guys have shut down the first two opponents you played. How important was it this first idle week to get some of those different situations for your defense? I know you guys haven't faced a red zone rep yet.
Yeah, we work hard at red zone. Almost every day we're working in the red area. It's important. It's a different game down there. We also mixed in 2-minute. We had some 7-on-7 2-minute. We had some team 2-minute, because all those things are coming. And then at the end of the game 2-minute, and then second half or first half 2-minute. We haven't hit on that yet. We want to do a better job on that on offense, but also on defense. And then coming up and watching some of these games, even like the game that happened last night, there was a 2-minute there at the end, and just even the conversation that we had about, if we're in that situation, what do you do? And constantly talking about those types of things, and then trying to design them in practice so that we're ready when they happen, because as we all know, they're coming.
Jeremy Birmingham, the podcast.
Ryan, last few years, no matter how hard you guys have tried, it seems like the quarterback recruiting has shifted towards the end of the cycle for a number of reasons. 25 maybe feels different, but how has the last 5-6 years of quarterback recruiting shifted your philosophy moving forward? And how much does the NIL conversation, especially the quarterback, almost require you to wait a little bit further in the process?
Yeah, I think that, I can't mention anybody right now. So, I think that when you know, but we've also been in a situation where recruiting's taken a twist or a turn, and when that does, and you've been invested in somebody, and then it, for whatever reason, it goes another way, you can find yourself in a different spot. So, we feel like, we really want to make sure that we evaluate, as much as we possibly can. When you think about like how late it was in CJ Stroud's, we felt great about taking CJ because we saw him play. We felt strong about, Lincoln and Devin, those guys played late in their season, or, into the recruiting process. So, we, feel good about, the guys that we have committed. We feel good about the room that we have, but we always want to make sure that it's the right fit. And what we can't do is be unsure, because it's such a huge decision. So sometimes there's more boxes that need to be checked, and we always want to be thorough in that spot.
Going back to Saturday night, when you're watching other games, and do you see coaching decisions that make you scratch your head and say, man, if I get in that situation, we can't handle things that way? I'm thinking of one specific game. I'm not going to call out a coach who decided to punt when the game was on the line against the number one team in the country. But if I was going to do that, I would ask, do you have to put yourself in their shoes and say, what would you do?
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah. Every time it's the end of the half, every time it's a decision you made, every time it's the end of the game, you're putting yourself in that situation. And I'm actually saying it out loud sometimes. My RJ and my wife, they'll be like, kind of talking to me about it, because, I just constantly say it, and I'm just talking, okay, if this thing goes down to this, down in distance, would we go for it right here? Or, is this a timeout situation? What exactly is going on here? You get the 2-minute warning situation this year, which is very different. So you try to take as many lessons as you can and try to use it as an opportunity to play that in your head, because, when you're watching a game live, there's different variables that come into play. We have, hired a consultant as an analytics group to give us information. And so they'll, give us some of the situations on a week-to-week basis on what happened the week before, and then give us feedback on the decisions that we made. So that's been helpful. But yeah, really, when you have an opportunity to watch a game, you're looking at it from that point of view.
6th row left, Jayla Van Horn, the Lantern.
Coach, a big day for Marvin Harrison Jr. What did you like from him? And obviously, the first game he kind of struggled, but he came back and obviously played really good against the Rams. So what did you like from him?
Yeah, Marvin Harrison is a wonderful player, and he's going to have a great career in the NFL. So, after a week, or if it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Marv's going to be a great player in the NFL. He's just such a pro. He's going to translate very well in that league. So this is just the beginning, what he's able to do. And looked to me like some of those were like broken plays. I thought the first one was a really great throw and a great catch in the back of the end zone. I don't know how he hung on to that one, but a really nice throw. And then a couple of them look a little bit, ad-libbed, but he's a great route runner. So, he's going to have these type of days, and, we're proud of what he's doing. And also, Paris being there as well. Those two guys, really, I know are going to have a strong impact on that organization.
We are at the 2-minute warning here. Tom Orr, Buckeye Huddle.
Matt Rule said yesterday that there's a Big Ten coaches group text or group chat. What do you guys talk about in there? And who is the funniest coach in the Big Ten?
Oh, geez, I don't know. There's a lot of us now. It's a crowded room, but it's just things that come up that everyone needs to get on the same page on. It's usually in the off season where there's some sort of legislation coming through or something that we need, consensus on to support, to move forward, to get to our ADs, or sometimes it's information. Hey, you may want to give your AD, a heads up on something like this, and so that we just get alignment across the board. So typically that group text just allows everybody to be on the same page.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
At right guard, I don't know that anything's officially been announced, but Tegra's obviously been the starter. Is he the starter, and what have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, he is the starter, and he's played good football. And we'll kind of see how the week plays out. And we're going to try to find ways to get Austin in the game because we feel like he's earned that opportunity. How it shakes out this week, we'll see. But right now, Tegra's the starting right guard.
What will it add to have Donovan back? We obviously know he's a good player, but what does it give you both tangibly and intangibly?
I just think this solidifies everything up front. Seth has done a very, very good job of communicating across the board. He brings a certain level of experience and stability in there with the communication. Now you add Donovan into it. I mean, that's two guys with a lot of experience. They're good communicators. They're very sharp. I think just overall, everyone's going to be on the same page even more and allow guys to communicate well because that's important. I mean, everything up front is about communication. So the more these guys can communicate and get everybody on the same page, the better we can execute.
Letterman Row.
Yeah, just two quickies, Ryan. Number one, speaking about the offensive line, did it make that leap you wanted from first game to second game? And I know everything's always relative based on who you're blocking, so to speak. But do you like the progress there? Did you see a more cohesive unit? Just what did you see?
Yeah, I think we all saw a bunch of guys who played hard. I like the plays where we're finishing, on the touchdown to Jeremiah. You see Josh Simmons like driving a guy out of bounds. You're watching Fryer run down on the one that got called back to Quinshawn, but he's 60 yards down the field chasing guys down. I think guys were playing hard in the game. You see Integra finish guys like 6 and 7 yards down the field and pancake them. Like that's to me what we're looking for. And also the communication, making sure that we're on the same page. We're all going to the right guys, and trust your technique. I say that also all the time. You're going against Tyleek and Ty every day in practice. Like trust what you're doing every day in practice. And so the communication was better, it was cleaner, and I thought the effort was very, very good. And so we can build on that. Like you said, it's just the beginning, but I think there's also a certain level of confidence that we should be continuing to grow on.
And the other thing, you watched a lot of football on Saturday. So Wisconsin loses its starting quarterback to a season-ending injury. You saw what that did to their attack. Texas loses Quinn Ewers to an abdominal strain or whatever it was. He looks like he's going to be, but the point is, do alarm bells go off in your head when you're watching that? Or do you go to Chip and go, we got to get these other guys more time, more quality time, because that could happen any moment. I mean, just what's your thinking in that regard?
It's the same thing as it was, before watching that on TV. It's we've got to build depth at every position, and obviously that's one. We got 4 guys in the game last Saturday. That was good. You don't know what this week's going to bring. Like we got to go play Marshall, we got to beat Marshall, and then we'll figure out the rest of it later. And if your focus goes anywhere else, I think that's dangerous. But we're going to get these guys reps in practice, and the more game reps we can get them, the better, because we do know that's going to be important. I mean, I totally agree with you. But there's not much we can do about that right now. Let's go have a great Tuesday. Let's get these guys as many reps as we can, and then we'll kind of we have an opportunity to get guys in the game. We will.
Sure, as always, appreciate you guys' interest in coming out today. When I look and think about this past week, the game against Virginia, 3 things come to mind for me. The first was responding. I talked about whether we would respond or react to what took place a couple of weeks ago. I thought our team did a tremendous job of answering and responding the right way. They took it one play at a time. I mean, that was a tough, gritty win for us. And when that play was over, they let that play die and went to the next. And, you know, I've seen our team when we've faced tough parts of a game like we did in the first half of Virginia. I've seen us not necessarily play that with that mindset, and to me that's the part that jumped up to. The second thing was we built awareness of ourselves as a team. Of course we did a lot of that during the preseason, but I thought in this recent game we found out a lot about ourselves. We found out the importance of staying in the moment, not playing to a scoreboard. I thought the week before, including myself, as I told our team, I found myself looking at the scoreboard in the third and fourth quarter. And when you play for results, and they create anxiety. And I thought our team did a really, really good job building on staying in the moment through that Virginia game and played a major, major role. You know, we got a lot of new players that traveled for the first time, and I like the way that they responded. Traveling, it was a late game, a late night game, which we haven't had a bunch of those, a primetime game. And, you know, I really like the way our team finished that game. And then the last part was the growth mindset, which is all part of what Maryland football is all about. We're going to make mistakes throughout the season. Having success and winning championships is not a straight, direct path. You'll have ups, downs, side movements, sometimes take steps back. But I'm really, really excited the way our team grew from week 2 to week 3. We faced a tough Virginia team that came in with a lot of momentum. Coach Elliott has his team playing really well. Going into that game, I know because of the rivalry of playing a Virginia, the importance of you can throw records out the window when you play games like that. And that was a tough, tough win for us, and I'm really proud of our team. For Villanova, here's what I'll say. They're a veteran bunch. You look at their defense, a bunch of graduates and seniors and guys that have been there 6 years and 5 years. And then you look at their quarterback. The quarterback is the guy that makes their offense go. They have a really extensive RPO package, quarterback run package, the zone read stuff, and the guy's been there 6 years. He's been a 3-year starter. He's the guy that makes them go. I mean, he's a competitive guy. He kind of got some traits that, you know, you see toughness, you see competitiveness. So what I'll say is I don't expect Villanova to come in here as an FCS team and be big-eyed about playing Maryland, because they've got a pretty good team themselves and very well coached. But like I always say, every week is not going to be about Villanova. It's going to be about the Terps. It's going to be about our standard and us taking pride in the way we prepare and the way we do things Monday through Friday. And, you know, those things won't change for us. It's going to be about a bunch of players growing this week, continuing to improve with every practice. And I really like our team and how they've been able to do that. You know, lastly, a couple things this weekend. We got family weekend and we got our mental health awareness games, which for me, really important things, because family weekend on campus, our students who've been great supporters of us, now they get a chance to show off their new home to their parents as they come visit. And we're excited to have these important people here for our game this weekend. And then also our annual mental health awareness game, which, you know, we'll wear decals. I know this year our theme as an athletic department is movement, and Dr. Christy Hall and Christopher Williams, who work with our team, are putting together a lot of things this week to bring awareness to something that's really important to myself and my family. Our coaches all got certified in mental health training this summer, which was a big deal for me. It helps us better identify our student athletes that may be going through some mental health issues, and I'm happy to keep shining the light on something that's really, really important to myself and my family. So our game captains this week, Caden Prather, Tajay Johnson, and Quayshawn Fuller. And with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Mike, you mentioned growth. As far as Ty is concerned, what have been the biggest areas of growth for him on the field, as well as mentally and a preparation standpoint?
I would say his confidence, Gene. I've always said, you know, Ty Felton was a talented player. He got overlooked recruiting-wise because of the injury his senior year. Prior to that, he was a guy that was a national recruit. and we got lucky to get him because of the injury and because of our loyalty to him. And as I've said, he had opportunities a year ago. Other people came knocking, and he decided to stay because he understands what our offensive system offers a guy like him. But the biggest area of his growth has been his confidence going into this season. I know he's worked with our sports performance people on just the mindset. We sent them away. Our strength coach, Ryan Davis, sent him and 3 of our guys away. They had a 4-day break in summer workouts where they went down to Pensacola to the Exos workout facility, training facility, and they got to see some pros. And I know he spent time with a veteran pro that he came back a different guy, taking care of his body. His confidence is through the roof. He's playing and practicing at a high level. Can't say enough good things about Ty, and the season he's having thus far is a byproduct of the work he put in.
Hey, Coach.
Used to get water up here, Dustin. I don't get water anymore. Lana, you grab me a water, please. Thanks.
Hey, Coach. For Ty, has been a part of it, but you guys have been one of the best offenses in the Big Ten, and your tenure at generating explosive plays. I wanted to ask, from a fan and from our perspective,
You
I guess.
fan? Come on, are you a fan?
That it's easy to say, oh, you need big plays. Like, big plays have to happen on offense. But what is the recipes for big plays? Are there, run and pass game are different? Are you calling certain plays specifically designed to draw up big plays? What goes into generating those explosives?
Big-time players. I mean, Ty caught a hitch for 5 yards a couple weeks ago and went 80. It's nothing exotic about diagramming a hitch. So big plays are made by big-time players. Simple and plain. Our system, every play that you design on offense, you usually have it designed where it blocks everybody, but it comes down to 11 guys, or a good percentage of those 11 guys winning their battles. But when it comes to big plays, sure, as a play caller, you see the way people react to plays, and that's one of the beauties of having people up in the box is all of a sudden you see reactions, and you see us hit some double moves because of us maybe throwing the hitch 3-4 times, getting 5-6 yards, and then all of a sudden we see that corner get antsy. Those things set up big plays, but to be quite honest, you recruit big-time players, and the way we do it on our offensive system is we try to give our best players as many touches as they can, understanding that within those touches, big plays are happening. Ty's a high-touch guy in our system. He's a guy that's trying to get 10 to 15 touches a game, 3 touchdowns, a lot of yardage, and those things just happen when you get your best players the ball and involved.
So do you and the offensive coaching staff really emphasize those plays, or is there like a certain amount that you're looking to hit on per game?
We have goals, and I'm not going to share them with you. Yeah.
Afternoon, Mike.
What's up?
4 takeaways last Saturday against Virginia, and this is the rule, not the exception, the last couple of years. What are some of the seeds to the success for your defense being able to get those takeaways?
I thought this past weekend, even in the loss, we had 3 takeaways, which is where, very few teams lose. Like I show a stat every Monday with our team, the winning ledger of the Big Ten teams, of teams on the plus side of the takeaway ratio and play teams on the opposite. After yesterday's, I think it was 25-2. People on the plus side of the takeaway ratio in our conference, up through the first 3 games, teams are 25-2 just being on the plus side. And so, to me, on the defensive side for us, we've made a big emphasis on the importance, just like we talked about big plays with Sam, the importance of takeaways on defense. And it starts with, if you come watch us today, you'll see every Tuesday, Wednesday, we do a turnover circuit where we invest the time with our starters. We're working on protecting the football. Our defensive guys are working at taking the ball off their bodies, and it's good on good work. And we rehearse trying to take the ball away. But I thought this past weekend, a couple of the times, we did a good job of showing one picture, disguising our coverage and then getting out of it. And a couple of times, we got some pressure on the quarterback where he had to make some errant throws. And, Dante, who's Big Ten Player of the Week on defense, was Johnny on the spot for us for one of them.
And 3 games into the season, your thoughts on Billy's progress, his growth, back-to-back
Billy
starts
the
at
kid is playing really clean, good football, man. When I talk about the mind of a coach and the skill of a player, a play happened in a game that just kind of just stamped his passport that he's made that taking that next step. We had the last touchdown run he had. We were in a formation. He saw that there was a blitz coming off the edge and something that's not even in our system. He points at Caden Prather and says, "Hey, you come in here, line in close, and turn out on him," which allowed the edge rusher to not be a free hitter. Like, that's mitigating risk. That's having the mind of a coach, but still the skill of a player. And Billy's playing really clean for us, making good decisions. I think there's still some growth in there for us in terms of, the consistency. And then, as I like to say, he always has one or two Billy balls during the game where he throws into team meetings and throws the ball in areas that the ball should not go, and we've got to eliminate those plays. And to me, I'm really pleased the way he's playing.
Mike, you talked about Ty going down to Pensacola. I'm just curious about Ty and Billy Edwards' relationship, their connection. Can you talk about, do they work extra time, or what is that connection? What is that relationship like?
Our whole team, we got a team full of workers, and that's why when I came in here earlier this summer and talked about the work ethic of this team is phenomenal, and it's not just the good players or guys that you write about. This team has that and understands putting in and doing the work, and they've embraced that piece of it, almost to the point where I've had to coach them up on maybe having a little more fun and enjoying it, because as an 18 or 22-year-old, and you take on this responsibility, and everybody you have these influences and all this information at your hands, and it creates anxiety. And I've done everything I can to release pressure on these guys to understand and love the way we prepare. And we talk about practice being the show. Make practice the show, not Saturday. The show should feel like practice. And so the big emphasis for this team has been that, and Billy and Ty exemplify that. Ty's done a lot of work behind the scenes. I said something to him in the team meeting yesterday. He's a guy that was catching off the lobster, the tennis ball machine, from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And he's in there in the summer, and he's in there in the off season, and he's doing them when nobody's watching, when nobody's writing articles, nobody's talking about how bad we are. He's working, and all that is being seen now because of the stuff he did and the pride he took in doing the work in the dark.
Mike, do you have an update on Andre Roy Jr.?
I don't.
If he's unavailable, how does that impact what you guys do on offensive line in terms of
the next
running
guy
game?
has to come up. The next guy up mentality. Whenever we've had injuries, it's the next man up, and we'll turn to whoever our third tackle has been, rotate some guys through. I expect Dre to be available, but I have not had an update just yet. He was out there yesterday walking around, but it'll be next man up, as we've always done when we've dealt with injuries.
Hey, Coach.
Matt, what up?
We've seen Nolan Ray. He's had an increase in carries in each of the last 3 games. What have you seen from him that's given you the confidence for him not just be a change of pace back, but a guy that's getting a decent amount of the volume?
I mean, he's one of our top playmakers in our offensive system. If you were to, as I think of things, and I know as Josh puts together his thoughts in our game plan on offense, it's always geared toward getting our best players the ball, and Nolan is one of our best players on offense. We've got a really good running back room. Kobe McDonald made some big runs this past Saturday, and has continued to kind of find a role in a niche as well. But with Nolan, he's a high-touch guy that we know if you get him enough opportunities, he's going to make a play for you, explosive play, and he did it all summer in our practices. And he's one of those guys that we got to continue to find ways to keep him involved.
Coach, for the defense, held Virginia to 128 yards rushing, Michigan State the week before to 130 yards. So what have you seen from your defensive line and Quayshawn to show that the success that they've been having so far?
I mean, it starts with our front 7 when it comes to the run game. That we have not made it's not been a secret that the strength of our team is that front. When you think about the Tajay Johnsons, who's played a lot of football around here, Quayshawn Fuller transfer in from Florida State the last 3 years has been really productive and has grown in our program. Tommy King-Basote is having a big year for us. Jordan Phillips. We've recruited and created the depth and size on the interior, and I haven't even mentioned guys like Neo Avery, who's starting to come on here the last last couple of weeks here, you see him coming on. So the front seven, the linebackers, Ruben, Caleb Wheatland, those guys are a veteran group. When you are able to stop the run, the way we've been able to do it makes people play one-dimensional, and that's where, for us, on the back end, we've got to just continue to develop back there to where we can hold up. And once we kind of get that thing in sync, I think we'll have the makings of a really good defense that you'll see us continue to improve as the year goes on, as we always talk about that growth mindset.
Hey, Coach.
Ahmed, what up?
Hey, Coach. I know, obviously, you've talked about just kind of the non-conference scheduling philosophy over the years, but I'm just kind of curious, just, in your first year, beating Syracuse and then taking down Virginia in back-to-back years, West Virginia as well. How do you feel like you've seen the Maryland brand, kind of grow and evolve, just kind of seeing that success against some of these regional teams?
That's a really good question, and I would say that based on the way we're recruiting, that our regional brand has improved. Contrary to what some may think, it's not linear. It's not going to go straight up. It's going to have peaks, valleys, steps back, setbacks, takeoffs. But if you study us, which I know you do, we've recruited well. And recruiting tends to get better as people tend to see you get better. And I think that's when you talk about growth mindset and the people that are inside Jones Hill House and the people that have intimate knowledge about our team, they understand the magnitude of what we're trying to get accomplished.
You all had a good day yesterday. We were in here with the team, watching the tape, preparing, really correcting, going through the game, and then got to a point now where we're on to Northwestern. So just started that preparation, and I'm looking forward to our first ever Big Ten game against a Big Ten opponent. And I think that's super cool that we get the chance to open up Big Ten play in our stadium, 4 p.m. It should be a beautiful 65-degree day, and I don't think there's anything cooler than that. So super looking forward to that opportunity for our team. And I told our team conference play begins now. Non-conference play is over, and we got 9 conference games to play.
What's Carson Bruner's situation?
I think he'll be fine.
Does that mean available this week?
Yeah, I believe so. Not sure yet. He's got to go through all the medical protocols after that hit. So we'll just wait and see.
When Moore will have a chance to play?
I'm hopeful but doubtful. I'm hopeful, medically doubtful for a little bit longer, I think.
You had said after the game that you were surprised to see the amount of penalties and, I guess, lack of discipline there. When you look through tape and kind of assess everything, do you have any better idea on why the team kind of came out the way they did in that way?
Yeah, well, we had 9 pre-snap penalties in the game. So we had 4 false starts in the game. I don't really, know why that happened. I think there was, some noise, but it was a 4th and 6. We had a false start because on cadence we had they called the center for moving one time. We haven't gotten that called on us before. We had a couple other false starts on the line or on the tight end that the ball wasn't snapped. One time they called it on the whole team, we were on the 15-yard line. No, I don't know why that happened defensively. They called us for 3 defensive offsides. 2 were in the last series, on 3rd down. It was a 3rd and 11 on the 1, and obviously Valdez was trying to hope to make a play, and rather than just be patient and know that we were probably going to get the ball back in that situation. That was really frustrating. Then 3rd and 6, they got 3 guys to jump off sides on a clap cadence. And then they got Anthony Ward on a delay game for, I guess, making a move call, maybe they said. So, those are just pre-snap penalties that I can't explain why. And then the holding penalty on Jordan Shaw was very disappointing. 3rd and 18, had a sack, got him off the field, but instead 3 plays later they scored a touchdown. The DPI was on a go ball to Elijah Jackson where we wanted to play through his hands, and just, one of those deals that they called PI on, rightfully so. And then the holding penalty on Thad was holding. It was holding. There's no question about it. And then the face masks, we had 3 face masks. And as I said to Tristan Dunn, you can't grab a guy's face mask. And Isaiah Ward, let go of the face mask. And those are the things we've got to do better. And so disappointed, but, they called them right.
Outside of the penalties, how did you assess the offensive line's play?
The false starts are frustrating with, 20 yards of false starts. But other than that, the sacks weren't really on them. There was, Will dropped the snap on 3rd and 7 on the 20-yard line to go in and, hopefully score a touchdown to go up 14-10 there. There was another sack based on the snap. Didn't leave the ground. That was another sack. So I thought we had, too many sacks, but I think a lot of it came down to we had a screen called on one play where the screen runner didn't run the screen. So that was another sack. So I thought the offensive line played fine. We ran the ball for 130 yards or so. We got moving. We moved the ball just fine. We had 460 yards of offense. But I just feel as if, in the end, too many mistakes to say that anybody played good.
Jedd, 48 hours after that last play, the 4th and goal play, how do you kind of process that now 2 days later?
Probably the same. We had a chance. We didn't execute the play. I told the team last year it was 4th and 1 with 1:15 left on the -29 and the 11-0 Washington team against the 5-6 Washington State team, and they converted a reverse. A year later, it's 4th and 1 with 1:12 with a 24-19 game, and we don't convert on an option play. It happens. If the reverse doesn't convert, Washington State wins last year 24-21. So in our case, the option play didn't convert, and we didn't execute the play. And if we executed the play, it would have converted.
What needed to be done execution-wise that wasn't done?
We needed to leave a guy to run option off of, and we didn't. We didn't block it the way we would have liked to block it and the way we would have expected to block it. But, that's just the way, that's game of football. If we called a pass and threw it incomplete, then we should have ran it. So if you run it and you don't get it, you should have thrown it. It's unfortunate. We've had this situation happen. I lived through it at USC a year ago in triple overtime, and we didn't get in on a triple overtime play, and they did on a quarterback scramble where Caleb dove into the end zone. I lived through it on the other end of plays, against Kansas State in 2011, so it just happens. And it's always crazy when a play goes down to a 4th and 1 on the 1 in the 4th quarter with a minute left, but I could point to a lot of plays that the game wouldn't have ever had to get to that. And that's the unfortunate part of the game. I'm sure Denzel would have wished he got into the end zone on the 3rd down and 10. I'm sure that defensively, we wished we tackled him on 3rd and 20 at the end of the half, and we didn't. And he got into the end zone from the 31-yard line. If we tackle him, they kick a field goal there, and then we kick a field goal at the end of the game to win. No.
I know you said you didn't like the look originally, and that's why you called timeout before that 4th down. Was that a difficult decision to use a timeout there, knowing that if you hadn't converted and you had 3 timeouts, maybe that changes things if they get the ball back?
No, well, we would have thrown it. It would have been incomplete. It would have been they made a signal that I saw that I knew what they were doing, and the play we had called and the signal that they had to how they were going to defend it, the play would have been incomplete.
Do you still think that the defense that Washington State was in on 4th down, you still could have executed that play with success if it was run the right way?
Before the timeout or after? Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
There was no thought of when you saw the defense they were in, just let's take a delay and just go 4th and 6 and just
Yeah, I actually made that joke yesterday. I said, what if you took a delay right there and then made a 4th and 6 and tried to explain that one? But no, because we didn't need to. The front was fine. It wasn't. We didn't leave a guy to run option. You got to leave one. If you're going to run option football, you got to leave one guy. And when you don't leave a guy, and the 52 becomes the guy that makes a tackle, 52 should have been blocked, and number 0 or number 8 should have been free, and had to defend the quarterback and the running back. Oregon ran the same play against Oregon State for 60 yards onto the short side of the field on Saturday. Same play. Wound up just blocking it a little differently.
Now that you've had 3 games to see the offense, how would you characterize the identity of this offense?
Well, I mean, I think we're 8th in the country in explosive offense. We're 20th in the country in total offense. We're averaging 7.5 per play, I believe it is, 7.55 per play. So we're throwing the ball about 57% of the time. We're running the ball about 43% of the time. All of that feels very normal to me. It's who we want to be. Last year we finished the year 20th in offense. The year before we finished the year 20th in offense. And we're sitting here 20th right now. So let's try to get it, I guess, top 10. Passing offense, I think we're 12th this year. Last year we were 6th. Year before, 8th at Arizona. So, I think we're sitting where we want to be there as well. So we'll just continue to see if we can, throw the ball for 300 and run the ball for 200. That's our goal every week. This week, I think we were 316 and 136 or something like that to get to 452. So, or 326 and 126, something like that. So we got to try to run the ball a little bit better and try to continue to make explosive plays down the field.
You came out with a real different defensive look, obviously, to stop Mateer. You didn't start Durfee or Isaiah Ward, who are 2 real mobile guys. I don't think they even played the entire first series. And then they kind of alternated the rest of the way. What was the thinking on that? Yeah,
we came out with a 3 safety look. We gave a little bit different deal to be able to bracket the quarterback in different ways. And then we just kind of mix and match some other personnel groups. There's, the thing about the Patriot system, our system now, is that you're going to each week come up with a way that you believe you could limit a player, limit a group. And I think that when you look at the totality of the game, holding them to 24 points, the fact that we gave them the ball on the 29-yard line on a punt return, we gave them the ball on a 50-yard line on a punt return, on a kickoff return, and that they broke a 31-yard run with 30 seconds left. I believe they didn't have more than 50 or 60 yards in the second half. I think we did a great job on defense, just using the different packages to limit them.
It's still hard to kind of keep Durfee and Ward limited to what they do, where they didn't play as much as they usually do?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you got to just do what's, if you put them in and it's not, you got to do what's the best for each game. And that's what we're going to do. And that's schematically, that's our plan on offense and on defense and on special teams. And we're not going to get caught up in, and let's call it, who needs to be in the game for a certain play. We're going to decide what we think is the best way to stop a team.
Coach, you talked about it last week, about getting off to a little bit slower start and wanting to get off to a faster start. And I'm sure you're looking at everything, but what are you looking at to maybe on both sides of the ball start a little bit faster and a little more aggressively?
Well, I mean, we scored a touchdown on the second drive of the game. We kicked a field goal on the third drive of the game after we dropped a snap. So we were on the 14-yard line the third drive of the game, and we scored a touchdown on the second drive. So I don't know how much faster we could have started. I guess we could have scored on all 3 drives. But on offense and on defense, we stopped them on 4th down again. It was a 4th and 1. That's 2 weeks in a row. We stopped a team on the opening drive that chose to go for it on 4th and 1. Both times we stopped them. And so they came out with no points. And then after we scored, I believe they returned the kick all the way back. Or no, I'm sorry. After we went 3 and out, they returned the ball to the 29-yard line and we held them to a field goal. So, I look at it and I say, defensively, they held them on a 4th and 1, turnover on downs, and then after getting the ball on the plus 29, they held them to a field goal. I think that's pretty good on the defensive side. And on the offensive side, while we went 3 and out the first drive, the next 2 drives we scored points. So we scored 10 points in the 2 drives in the second and third quarter, in the second and third drive of the game. And then after halftime, we kicked a field goal in the first drive after the half, so to make it 17-16. So we'll continue to keep getting better, but our job is to not get wrapped up in scoring first. We want to score last. And I think that if we converted at the end of the game and scored in any of those 4 plays that we had a chance to score on, the second down play that we threw it into the end zone, if we came down with that ball, the third down play, if we got into the end zone, the fourth down play, if we got into the end zone, then we wouldn't be as focused on whether or not the first drive of the game we went 3 and out, or if the second drive of the game we scored a touchdown.
Yeah, just picking up on Dan's question about the subbing, all that stuff at the offensive side, especially the quarterback rotation. It looked like at the end of the first half, Will had that long run, took maybe a hit, and we thought maybe he was banged up. DeShaun came in. Talk about why it made sense at the end of the half to turn things over to DeShaun there.
Yeah, at the end of the half, with like 24 seconds left at the end of the half, the previous drive, when it was like Will had the scramble for about 15 yards and then slid, and then we put DeShaun in on second down and 6, I think it was, on like the 41-yard line or so. DeShaun's right now, when DeShaun's in the game, we're averaging 9 yards a play on the run game. And at that point in time, there was like 4.5 minutes left in the half. I thought it was a good opportunity for us to, there was a certain run package that I liked. We ran the ball. We got 3.5 yards on the run. So then it became 3rd and 2.5. And then we kept him in because he certainly is a very able passer. I think he's 9 for 12 on the year. So I don't want it to be like, oh, if DeShaun's in there, obviously, right? Like, we obviously have a package. So it was a 3rd down, kept him in. We ran a screen and didn't execute the screen, so we had a punt. That was that deal. And then at the end of the half, when I put him back in, there was only 14 seconds left. I wanted to see if his legs could get us into, let's call it the 50-yard line area, and then see what happens. And he scrambled for about 16 the first play, or we ran a run play for about 16. And then the next play, we tried to take a shot down the field, and it wasn't there, which he checked down to try to throw it to Jonah, overthrew him. So then we just wanted to run out the clock.
John Mateer averaged over 3.5 seconds in the pocket in yesterday or Saturday's game. Was your plan on defense to try to contain him and make him one-dimensional?
Well, let me start with this. That kid's a really good player, okay? That kid is really good and really hard to get down. I can't tell you how many opportunities that we had to take him down, and he didn't go down. We had guys around him at all times in the pocket. That pocket was collapsing, and he was scrambling out of it. He was holding the ball and making plays on scrambles. Our plan was to try to contain the guy. I mean, that guy is good. And, and hats off to him. He wound up making the plays when he needed to make them. I think that we had some chances that we didn't get him down, that there's probably 3 or 4 missed sack opportunities, and then 2 sacks that got negated because of penalties down the field. So we had our chances on him, and we didn't take advantage of them, and kept him to 24 points. That's enough to beat a team, though, in college football. If you keep a team to 24 points in college football, I would expect us to win.
Kamori House was a big part of that game plan. What did he show you when he went back and looked at the film?
Well, he was super athletic, super fast. He's going to be a great player for us. Relentless competitor, hard worker, loves practice, loves to work hard on the practice field, in the weight room. And I think that the more Kamori we play, the better Kamori is going to get. And to have a true freshman go out there, he kind of reminds me of DeShaun in some regard. Like, these are going to be guys that are going to be the future of this program. And Adam Muhammad kind of reminds me of Adam Muhammad. I think Kamori might have had 15 plays in the game. Adam had 15 plays in the game. These are the guys that are going to be the future of the program. They're going to get mixed in. Decker DeGraff, get them mixed in, get them more comfortable. And as we see them play 30, 40, 50, 60 snaps in the years to come.
What would you say the ratio of first-team snaps is for DeShaun with Bo? Is it 80-20, 90-10?
At the end of the game?
Going during the week, how much does DeShaun get to work with the first team in that regard?
Yeah, we're about 80-20. 80-20.
You said after the game that there were a couple of guys that played really, really well. Who were those guys?
Johns Jackson, thought played fantastic. Giles, from what I understand, he's had 18 targets, 18 catches this year, which I believe is an NCAA record. Thought he was pretty special in the game. I thought Will Rogers played fantastic. Will's completing the ball, I think number 3 in the country in completion percentage. Some of the plays he made, some of the throws he made were exceptional. Zoe played great at linebacker, made a ton of plays. Really impressed with the way Zoe played in this game. Those are the 3 that kind of stood out to me. And, I thought Jonah had a good game. Probably 1 or 2 plays he'd probably like to take back in pass protection. They got us on a corner blitz one time, but other than that, those guys stood out to me, Giles and Will and Zoe.
The packages for the backup quarterback. Is that a challenge at all for the starter to have to come out of a game mid-series on second down and not necessarily knowing when that's going to happen, or maybe he does, but
yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think, it's not like we're bringing a guy in to take 2 or 3 series. I mean, when I was at Florida, we beat the number 1 team in the country, Florida State, when we rotated quarterbacks every snap. So we had Noah Brindise and Jesse Palmer, and every snap we switched. So we're not doing that. But so I've seen us beat the number 1 team in the country doing that. I think that there's a place for that. I've done it with numerous quarterbacks at numerous places. And in this case, this is more of college football 2024, where you've got 2 really good players and you've got an opportunity to mix and match them a little bit. Will has had zero misses because of it. It's not like he's come into the game and thrown an incompletion, or he's been, out of the game for a couple plays and then couldn't get himself going again. So it's never been any of that. And DeMond, hasn't really been in a situation where he's gone into the game and then kind of like fallen off because he wasn't in for 10 or 15 plays before that. So, no, so far I've not felt that was an issue. If I felt it was an issue, I wouldn't do it.
Is there any benefit in terms of focus or attention to detail to losing to your rival right before heading into conference play? I mean, with things you want to fix, is there any extra fire?
Yeah, I told our team, I said, we lost a non-conference game, and that's what it is at this point in time, that we lost to Washington State. It was very disappointing. We don't have the Apple Cup trophy, very disappointing. But unlike the years before, you don't have to wait 365 days. You wait 6 and you go play. And that's what it's now about the Big Ten. We're 2-2 the last 4 years in this game. The last 2 years, as I said, 1 game on 24-21 one way, 1 went 24-19 the other way. It's 2 good teams. And as I said all week, they're a good team. They got good coaches. It's a good program. They've been together now 4 years with Coach Dickert. They know what they want to be. We went out there. We had a great game. It was a great football game that ended 36 inches short. Okay? All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.
What's going on? How are you? I'm great. Just what I expected. What I saw on film was pretty much what I saw during the game. Our execution wasn't exactly where we would want it to be, but I'm pretty confident that you guys are going to be able to fix that. They're really eager to get back out here. We had a lot of guys come in and watch the film yesterday, and we give them Sunday off, so that was a positive thing for us. But we're on to LSU this week, and I'm just looking forward to these guys getting back out there and getting another opportunity to play.
So is fixing it mostly repetition? Is that what does it?
I would say repetition, and just we got to get guys to settle down. I think there's just a little bit of emotion going on early in the game. So those first opening drives coming out of half, I think they're just pressing a little bit and putting a little too much on themselves.
When you say execution, is there anything beyond just player execution? Is there anything fundamentally else that you need to correct or improve?
It's really just the execution of the plays, the plays. Because if we ran something later on in the game and it worked, then it's the execution. So this is truly just getting out there and execute and stop beating ourselves.
What's going on with the run game that's not allowed it to be where you want it to be right now?
If we wouldn't have got a holding call on TJ's run, it wouldn't have been too bad. But, you know, we just still got to continue. It's a growing process. You know, it's not going to be easy. It's a brand new scheme and everything for these guys. So, you know, they're just taking it in stride. But I just like that they're eager to continue to get out there and work hard.
When it comes to the running game, with obviously you being an NFL running back and Coach Bieniemy, what do you both bring to that running attack? Do you think that's extra, better, that could make that game? That whole rushing attack.
Coach Kelly ran the ball. He didn't play running back, so you know, you guys are putting more on it than anything. But the run game's going to be fixed. Other than that run, we ran the ball enough, but you know, we want to get out there and establish the run a little bit more and just continue to grow.
Also, critical opportunities, third downs, I think you're 28%, and red zone, 1 of 7 TDs. How much do you have to, when you get those chances, convert?
You got to capitalize on all of that. So just like I told them at halftime, defense has to get off the field on third down and offense has to stay on the field. So it was just more, like I'm saying, it's going to get repetitive. And as long as if we can execute, things are going to change. But it's not the play calling, it's not... It's an overall, it's not a certain position group, it's just an overall offensive thing right now, and I just think that as long as they continue to get reps and they're willing to get better, this things will improve.
On the other side of the ball, when it came to third downs, would you say that was execution? Were there other things that, I mean, there were a lot of third downs that you gave up, third and long.
Yeah. Defensively, they had a couple of opportunities where, you know, we jumped off sides on one and extended the jab. That was a fourth down. Couple other third down. I think there was a pass interference on the goal line, red zone. So penalties are also hurting us. But as long as we execute and continue to improve, things will go right.
What about Ethan? He's clearly gotten off to a little bit of a slow start here. What have you seen with him? What does he need to do to get going?
Just settle down. That's basically it. As long as he just gets in there and settle down. Ethan's our starting quarterback. Everybody has full confidence in him. And, I'm just looking forward to him continue to grow with this offense and continue to be our quarterback.
You talked about before the season that you were one of the things you were concerned about is this team going in and playing in some big-time environments. I mean, the LSU, that voted like toughest place to play in the country. So what are you saying to your team going into this game?
These are the games you come to college for. You know, I told them you don't really get these type of atmospheres in the NFL. When you go to college stadiums, fans are going to be rowdy, it's going to be exciting, but if you want to play big-time ball, this is a great opportunity to do that. We're going down to LSU at Death Valley, and I think our guys are going to be pretty pumped up to play down there.
Injuries, Keanu Williams, looked like he was wearing a boot. Can you give us an update on him?
Yeah, he's right here.
Is he out this week? Okay.
No comment.
Okay, how about Kanye Cole?
No comment.
Coach, you mentioned you want the guys to settle down a little bit. Those slow starts in these past 2 games, how important is it for you guys this week to kind of get off to a better start and kind of set the tone for the rest of the game?
That's the complete thing. You know, I think we've been beating ourselves a little bit, you know, in both games. The outcome of the last game just wasn't what we wanted. But I think as long as we continue to keep going and not beat ourselves, stay ahead of the stakes on both sides of the ball, we'll be okay.
How do you go about, you said calming everyone down, eliminating mistakes. How do you coach that?
It's you just got to talk to your guys. You guys just got to find a way to ease them and get them mentally prepared just for anything that happens. But, you know, I have full confidence. We have a lot of smart guys, you know, so these guys are putting a lot on themselves. Just let the game come to them. You know, they want to be successful, and they're trying to get out there and just try to make it happen. So I don't have a problem with them pressing, but just don't let your play show that.
Talk a little bit about Kane Madrano's play and what he's done for that defense.
Kane's a great player. He's a leader on the defense. He plays well. A lot of tackles for losses, and you know, he just continues to be positive and speaks energy into our guys. So you know, he's a guy that a lot of people lean on, and I'm just glad he's on our side.
Obviously not the result you wanted, Coach, but can the guys kind of use that as an advantage to them to kind of motivate them to play better this week?
I just told them to keep that feeling that you had as soon as the game was over. You know, follow the line and have it out here every day this week and find a way to just not have that feeling. You know, but you know, you can't just look past it and not, you know, it was tough. It was a tough loss. It wasn't easy. And, you know, we addressed it. I think my guys are pretty much moved past it now, and we're ready to take on LSU.
Did you see signs that they were doing that in the film sessions and things you've done with them since you said that?
Yeah, most definitely. Just the fact that most of the guys came in here and finished the film yesterday on their day off. So I was excited that they did that. We didn't have to call them up and come in. They all were eager to do it themselves. So we have the right type of kids, and I just think that, it was an unfortunate game. It happens. You win some, you lose some. But the best thing about this whole thing is that in 6 days, we get another game.
Talk a little bit about Saturday, and then certainly looking forward to this week. First and foremost, as I said after the game, good to get the win, certainly. And Troy competed hard. We expected that when they came in, and really did a good job in certain areas, made some big plays, and credit to their execution on that. Thought our guys handled the adversity pretty well. It wasn't great at halftime, certainly, and came out and did a better job in the second half. Certainly good to get some points, finish some drives. Yet, that being said, we left two of them on the table out there with a 4th and 1, lack of a conversion on a 4th and 1, and that was really more communication than anything else. And then, missed on a makeable 3rd down that led to our field goal. So certainly some plays there that need to get cleaned up, or things that need to get cleaned up. And then the big plays, both fundamentals, but communication as well. So a couple things involved in that. And the one thing I do know is, giving up big plays makes it tough to play winning football. So it's something we've got to get corrected here. We've been victimized by that now 2 weeks in a row. And again, it's really not a matter of effort. It's just a little better job with communication and better job with good fundamental play out there. And, we're certainly going to have to improve as we start to move into conference play now. So, that being said, head to Minnesota Saturday, first league game and first road game. So, big on a couple fronts. And most importantly, we're playing a really good football team, a very veteran football team. And a confident football team. They play extremely hard, and they're playing really well right now. Our captains will be the same 4 guys. We've got Jay Higgins and Quinn Schulte defensively, and then on the other side you've got Luke Lachey and Cade McNamara offensively. So we've got those 4 guys leading us again. Injury-wise, DeShaun left the game on Saturday, and I don't see him having a chance to return. So hopefully we'll get him soon here in the future, but I don't think this week's reasonable for him to be in there. It's a rivalry game, trophy game, says enough right there. But most importantly, I think if you look at the series, last 3 games have been decided by 10 combined points. So I think, it just kind of tells you the nature of the series and what it's all about. And my guess is this game will probably fall in line with that. Again, as I said, they've got a really good football team. They're very veteran, play extremely hard, well coached, and I think they're playing with a lot of confidence now, and rightfully so. A tough loss in the first game, come back, and they've looked really good the last 2 weeks out there. So they've got good experience basically across the board right now. And I would include the quarterback. He's a new player, but he is an older guy, and his experience, he's playing really well for them. He's fit right in with, I think, what they were looking for. And be remiss if I didn't mention their kicker and punter. They've got 2 outstanding specialists. The kicker was the kicker in the year in the Big Ten last year, and the punter's a very veteran guy, very talented, very strong punter. So, they're really good in that area. And again, back-to-back shutouts, tough to beat that. So, and the last thing, just real quickly, the kid captain this week, we're going to be on the road, but Aiden Washburn will be with us. He's a 8-year-old from Keokuk. Had a rare heart condition, had a couple of surgeries, basically his first week on earth here, and had another one at 6 months and another one at 3.5. And so he tells his friends he's got a special heart. So he's fought some issues there and is on the transplant list, but right now very healthy and happy. 3rd grader. I've been told likes science, likes reading, and likes swimming as well. So he'll be in our thoughts as we travel up to Minneapolis, and I'll throw it out for questions.
Kirk, Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. You've integrated Brendan into that goal line package. Would you ever think about maybe 3rd and short, those 4th down plays, maybe integrate him into that as well?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, right now we haven't given it a lot of thought, but we'll see. And just happy to get him in there involved. He's practiced well and done some good things, and certainly gives us a little different dimension. So, those are things we might consider as we move forward. Yep.
John Steppe, Cedar Rapids Gazette. Quite the
first 3 games for Jacob Gill, leading the team in receptions. How have you seen him kind of adjust from not being here in the spring to kind of getting up to speed so quickly and adding kind of a different dimension to this offense?
Yeah, it's a real credit to him because, to your point, I think the most significant point, he got here in June, late newcomer. Wanted to finish up school. He had his previous stop, and I think it's a real credit to him. A little bit like Nick Jackson. Rusty Feth a year ago came in after spring ball. But those guys really got up to speed fast, and I think the biggest thing is he's really, everything about him is really impressive. He's just a very mature, serious, focused guy. And as I've said before, that's a room that was lacking of experience and lacking production. So I think, as much as anything, we wanted to get a guy who's been around a little bit and has gone through this, and he just really operates at a really high level, and most importantly, practices really well, and that's how he plays as well.
Jedd Leistikow, Des Moines Register. Have you ever, this is my first part of the question, have you ever gotten like any answer why you guys always start on the road in the Big Ten?
Start what, on the road?
18 out of 26 now. 18 out of 26.
How many?
18 out of 26 years, and
Wow.
including 3 in a row.
It's a good percentage, right?
It's pretty. It's almost impossible statistically. But anyway, but you guys have been a good road team. You've won 6 of your last 7 on the road. What does it take to be a good road team? And you obviously have to be this year if you want to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, I think you do just in general. Like if you want to be a really good football team, at our level, you're going to play at least 5 away games. Typically it's 7 and 5, so that's just part of the deal. And I guess are we still flip-flopping on? Like, there was one year where we flip-flopped too, so I can't keep track of it. But the first thing, you can't worry too much about it where you're playing. I think you worry about the game. And then to the point about being on the road, sometimes it's almost good in a way because it really forces you to be even more focused if that's possible, and not just assume, hey, we got the comforts of home and the crowd's going to be behind us and all that. We know it's going to be exactly the opposite of that, and it's a great thing about playing in our conference. Everywhere where you go, there's really good venues to play in, historic, and a lot of tradition. But it really gets down, I think, to being able to focus on what is important. Realize it's not a field trip. We're going up there to do something, and it's only 72 of us, so it's a little smaller number, and that's what you got on the sideline, and it's basically us against whoever's there in the stadium. Most importantly, opponent. Yep.
Scott Docterman, The Athletic. Kirk, I know you've said quite a few, in the last few years, a lot about you can't microwave the offensive line. It has to develop, and it seems to be developing to that level that you want, at least the way it appears. There was a block, I think it was on Caleb's second touchdown, where Nick DeYoung was able to go from right tackle to execute a reach on a middle linebacker, which is almost impossible. But how is that? How has the line grown now? Is it kind of reached that point that you want it to reach, and is that why it's executing at a high level, or are you doing? I'm
only smiling because we just practiced here about an hour and a half ago. So I walk off the field like, oh man, we can't block anybody. Yeah, it is a process, and we are gaining ground. We're not there yet, and we'll never get there, hopefully. But I think we're getting better, and the things you're referencing, that takes some experience. It takes a lot of work on the field and in the meeting rooms too. Guys have a real opportunity to really learn and move and improve in the meeting rooms. But the most important work is what they do on the field. And I'm thinking about some plays that didn't look so good today. Frustration and failure is part of getting better too, though. You got to go through some things, and sometimes try to match what you're doing against maybe what they're doing. It doesn't always look pretty, but if we can get there by Saturday, it'd be a good thing. But I think the guys are more confident right now. They're certainly more physically mature than they've been. And we're healthier, and that helps too. So all those things help. And George does a great job with those guys. But it's a process, and if we're doing it right, we'll get better week to week. And hopefully by midseason or so, we're really starting to have some proficiency.
Blake Hornstein, Hawkeye headquarters. Coach, after the Nebraska game last year, you had mentioned that no official had gone up to you before the game and said, hey, you can't do this. This is an invalid fair catch. I was curious that since that play happened last year, has that come up in a pregame talk with the officials? And I guess, is it clear to you now what an illegal fair catch is? Yeah,
I think we're all on the same page on that. And, I really don't want to go down that road again too much. But, probably the biggest, and I go back to Michigan, I think it was 06. We were up there, and there was like a 6-minute review, 7-minute review. And that's where the issue starts to come into play. And then, when you're told we're reviewing one thing and then we get a different interpretation about something else, those lacks of communication, or that lack of communication, I think is a little disturbing afterwards. And I do think we addressed that in the out of season as a conference. I think we're in a better place right now. And, bottom line, there's still, I think that play was open for interpretation, but it was more about the process afterwards. It was really kind of troubling. So, it is kind of what it is. But I think we have, in the out of season, cleaned that up a little bit.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Beacon. I know through the first few weeks, part of the conversation around Cade is him getting back into game shape and really feeling like he's in the flow of a game. He made it sound like he feels like he's there, or at least it's in a it's progressing. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, and I don't mean that in a negative way by any stretch, but it's we've played 3 weeks right now, and you can't stand here and I can't stand here in front of you and say we've played a complete game start to finish yet. I wasn't here for the first one, but I watched it, and so we've had peaks and valleys, and as I said, the good thing is we faced some adversity the other day, and it could have gotten worse after that muff punt too. Just for the record, I mean, Nestor did a good job being there and scooping that thing up, but that could have been interesting. We're at 17-14 at that point, and the ball's at midfield. So, those things are going to be good for us in the long run. I just assume not have to go through all of them that we've done. And, I think to the point, whether it be Cade or the offensive line, hopefully our best football is in front of us. That's the way it's got to work, and does typically work for us. I know more about our program than I do others, but that's usually how it works. But we got to be working at it and doing right. And I do think he's more comfortable now. And now the challenge is, can we keep it going week to week, knowing that, the degree of difficulty is going to get a little tougher too, because these guys, 2 straight shutouts in a row, so it's going to be a big challenge for us.
Owen Sebring with KGAN. Last week, I know we talked about Jay a little bit, but today Jay Higgins told us that the game at Minnesota in 2020 was the first game in which he got defensive snaps as a Hawkeye. So he's kind of reflecting on just, his career, a little bit of full circle moment here now this season. Could you just reflect a little bit on what he's meant to this team over the last few years especially? Yeah, first comment is a rare regular season game played in December, not to mention at night in Minnesota. What a great schedule. Speaking of scheduling, that was really well thought out. But yeah, Jay has just been great. I mean, I can't say enough about him, and said this back in the summertime, in this modern era of cut and run. Not that everybody does that, but it seems to be pretty popular. He ends up sitting behind a guy named Jack Campbell, who's pretty good, and Jay recognized that. And instead of running from Jack, he went and ran to him and listened and really watched him. Most importantly, I think he watched how Jack operated. Not that Jay didn't already know how to operate, but good players tend to gravitate towards good players. And Jay was all eyes and ears, and he's learned from the best of the guys in our program. And now he's become one of the best of our guys ever. He's always had a great personality. Does love football, which is as silly as that sounds, it's a real starting point to being a great player, in my opinion. Lives for it. Last night, I think I saw him going downstairs about 8:30 at night. I'm sitting at my desk, and if my door is open, I can watch guys come up and down the steps. He's going home at 8:30. So he's back in there watching tape. Good things don't happen by accident. And I'm not trying to compare him to Ray Lewis, but Ray was a rookie all of our first years in Baltimore. And Ray, you could hear Ray just about anytime, anywhere. But the one thing about him, boy, I tell you, nobody worked harder than him. Same deal, like early in the morning, there late at night, that type of stuff. And you wonder why great players are great players. There's a dedication. There's just the way they study it and the way they approach it. And they've got some humility. And Jay's got all those things, so he's really done a great job. And, we're thrilled he's on our team. Yep.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. You mentioned with the explosive passing plays you guys have given up the technique and communication. Yep. Can you just maybe expand on where the breakdowns in those 2 sectors you've kind of seen to allow that?
Yeah, I mean, the other day it looked like one guy was victimized twice. The one was just a mental error, and that to me, I attribute that to being a younger guy and forgetting, first things first, and also forgetting that, the guy across from me is trying to win too, and as a defensive back, you've always got to keep the ball in front of you. That's just paramount, and so you can always recognize that they may throw it deep. I mean, it's just if you're out there, and it's the way it is. And then the second one was just there's some fuzziness with the communication, And pretty much everything we do offensively, defensively, and special teams involves everybody. Everybody's got to be on the same page, and there's certain leverages or techniques that have to be used, and it may involve more than one guy. And quite frankly, quite typically it does. So that was the second one. And then on the punt return, I mean, it just it looked like junior high coverage. Quite frankly, we had about 17 guys over on this side of those two hashes, and everybody had the wrong leverage basically. And I've never seen a game where a guy scored 3 touchdowns. That's rare. And then I don't think he had a finger on him in any of the 3 places, 3 TDs. So that's hard to do, really hard to do. So hopefully we get that out of our system.
Kirk, John Sears, WHO-TV. Offensively, over 400 yards so far per game, over 30 points. Have you noticed maybe a confidence and an understanding of the offense continue to gain momentum on a weekly basis?
I think a lot of things are better Saturday than they've been. But each step's been a learning process. First game, it was, choppy water, and then things came around. Second game, they throw a lot at you, and a lot of really unusual looks. So, it was hit or miss. But when we did hit, it was pretty. And, I think last week, we had more good maybe than bad, that type of thing. But each week's going to be a different challenge. The good news is already been discussed. I think we're a little better up front now than we've been the last couple of years. So maybe we can handle some things, not only ability to block, but also the ability to maybe be in the right spot to block the right guy with the right leverage. And then, quarterback play, if we can get, consistency there too, those two things really help dictate how an offense goes. And I mentioned we missed a third down that was makeable. Part of that was just, lack of a little bit of 2 guys on the same page, and probably more because a young guy wasn't quite sure what to do. And there's no question that'll get better as we just keep going and learning there. So those little things make a big difference in games. Maybe not as much last Saturday, but you get in a 1-score game. Those things are really big, and that's where that precision's got to come in, and that's where experience and everybody just getting it done is important. But it's easier said than done because every week you're playing a different team with different challenges.
David Eichel, HawkeyeInsider.com. Kirk, how important is next play mentality, next game moving forward? How important is that to your culture? Because it seems like your team's always on the same page when it comes to that. Does that start with the type of guys you recruit? Is it about molding them when they get on campus? Or how have you kind of established that culture, and how do you kind of reach your team be able to really embrace it?
Yeah, I think probably the best answer to that, like part of it's learned, a lot of it's learned. A lot of what we do is learned, and it's just that's the nature of any. I think you go to a program that's different than what you came from. You've got to learn. Jacob Gill's had to learn. Like what we do technique-wise and all those kinds of things. So. Yeah, part of that, and it's just, it is kind of what it is, like, in college football, and it's going to be different next year or whenever, when we get to 105. That next man's going to be a little closer to being in than over there. Like, you're right here now, because there ain't a lot of next men anymore. It's not like they're, incubating. So, but the reality of, and it's a phenomenon in football too. Like I've always thought guys on the second team can get relaxed if they're not careful. Because they're really not, down there doing dirty work with the scout team, yet they're not, having the pressure of having to be ready to play 70 quality snaps. So if you're not careful, you can be lax there. And I think, the guys that have stepped in, it's a real credit to them for preparing the right way, even though they may not, really play a lot of significant reps. But yeah, those things are all taught. We just talk about them, but some guys listen better than others, and they're the ones that probably improve quicker and end up being on the field faster. But yeah, I mean, really, it's what it gets down to. You just never know when you're going to get called. That's one facet. And then as far as moving on to the next game, you have to, because it's all there is. Like, and it's whatever happened last week really doesn't matter at this point. And I had to go back and look up who picked up the muff punt, because I'd already, moved on from that one. So I'll give Nestor a shout out on that one. Guy hustles and works hard. So, yeah, but you're on to the next one.
Hey, Kirk, I'm Pat Hardy with Hawk Fanatic and KCJJ Radio. How this particular trophy game is almost 90 years old. How much do you emphasize the history of this? And don't you have a player that gives a presentation during the week of this week of practice?
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, it's for tomorrow. And I'd forgotten about that. So, I mean, my notes, I haven't looked that far ahead yet. But, yeah, we typically do. Just because, like 1981, I had no idea. Although I was telling somebody yesterday when I got here in 81, like Johnny Carson was on TV, and he was funny. Like, he was really funny in a good way, you know. I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. So, anyway, I remember on his show, whatever, there was a feature about Iowa and Minnesota, and I didn't even know Iowa was at that point. So it was like pre-1981. But what I do remember is, like, you know, there was a real rivalry. And when I got here in 81, there was. But I was kind of naive to it until they came across the field after the 12-10 win out there. 1981, yeah, and I thought, boy, they're pretty enthusiastic about shaking hands, and then I dumbbell, they wanted to come get the trophy, which was right behind us. So that was my introduction to the trophy game, and you know, once you're here for a little bit, you figure it out real quickly and what it means. I think for this particular one, there's a real deep history, certainly, you know, so yeah, we'll do that, give the guys a chance, and yeah, we haven't seen the pig in a while, so, you know, we'll have pictures and all that and see if we can do something about it, but just that never seems to come easy. And I remember going up there in 82 after we got beaten 81, 12-10. And that was one of the most physical games I can ever remember being involved with. Maybe it was just me, but that's how it felt. It was really a hard-fought game, and both teams really went at it, and we were able to come out victorious. So, but I remember that being it was back in the old dome, you know, a tough ball game.
Yeah, Scott Docterman again from The Athletic. I wanted to ask you.
I'm telling old stories, huh? That's 40 years ago. Jeez. God.
You want to keep going with that?
Oh, man. Like, that's ancient history. I'm sorry. Not just history. Yeah.
And this isn't my question.
Means I'm ancient, right? Yeah.
You're not going to wear flannel or anything like Hayden did that year, are you?
No, I'm not. No, I don't have any bib overall. Sorry. Yeah. Or a straw or hat.
I can't imagine in them, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
That was funny. That was funny.
I wanted to ask you, last year against Western Michigan, you gave up 2 long passes, 2 explosive plays. One was 50-plus, one was 40-plus. And then the rest of the year, there might have been 1, maybe 2 more. I mean, really very limited. And then you look at what happened the other day, 2 long explosive passes, one against Iowa State. Are you, in one respect, are you happy in that these are correctable mistakes, these are just communication errors, these are things that can be taken care of? Or on the other hand, are you like, it's not like Plaxico Burress is out there and you just get dominated in this?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. You know, that's the bottom line on all this stuff is we'll see. To your point, they are correctable. So the key thing is, are we going to correct them? And the good news is we've played good defense with all of the same guys on the field. But then, you know, we can't have those lapses. And usually, you know, whether it's communication, just like the 4th and 1, I think it was 2 guys didn't get the same call. The other 9 did. And you got to play it's dead in the water. So, you know, you just don't get those back. It's like losing a game. You don't get it back. So that's where the hard thing for a player is. Like, there's a lot going on out there. There's a lot of communication. But you've got to be able to be on the same page. And that if you're not sure, you got to give ground, or, you know, somebody's got to contain a punt or whatever, at least get it turned back in so we might have a fighting chance. But just to let a guy come down the sideline, boy, is that hard. So hopefully we're learning as we go, and our good teams do learn. And to your point there, and that's the good news. I mean, we've had success with the same guys. So, you know, now the challenge is let's tighten things up a little bit and make sure we're really, if we're going to get beat on something, let's get beat, because it is Plaxico Burress or the other team makes a great play, but let's not help them out.
Hey, Coach, Matt McGowan with the Daily Iowan. We're talking about Wyatt Black. Obviously, size sticks out, but what do you remember about recruiting him, and what does he bring to this team?
I remember him coming to camp, you know. It's pretty easy to spot him, which makes me flash back to a thought. You know, Tristan Wirfs committed, coming back from another Big Ten school. Nobody knew him. It's like, how can this guy walk in your room and, you know, I mean, somebody didn't walk over and say hello to you? And he said no. So he doesn't come to Iowa. I'm glad he did. But why? It was just, you know, he's a really good football player. We thought a great prospect. And he's kind of quiet. I don't know how he is with you guys, but he was kind of quiet and reserved and almost held back a little bit. And quite frankly, for 3 years, I wasn't sure if he liked it here. But, you know, he's really come around on that front. And he's emerged as one of our, not only a good player, but he's emerged as one of our team leaders, and that's been fun to watch that. where he's really, involved with the other guys and really encouraging with them. And, if he's got to say something, he'll say it. So it's really been good. Fun to watch that part of the evolution as well.